Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of SportsLine. I'm Brendan Rigney and alongside of me is Madison Elliott.
We have a great show full of your LaSalle Winter news, previews, and highlights.
So let's get started with some recaps. Madison?
The women's track and field team came back in full force on January 24th at the Georgetown Invitational. They competed against schools including American University, Georgetown, and Delaware State. On the distance side of things, 3 women explorers finished in the top 6 of the 1-mile run, setting the women up for a good day at the races. Senior Megan McGlinchey placed first place and ran the mile in 4 minutes and 54 seconds. Senior Tori Pisco placed fourth with a personal record of 5 minutes and 4 seconds. And graduate student Rochelle Harrison placed 6th with a time of 5 minutes and 7 seconds.
On the mid-distance side of things, senior Kareem Brooks, freshman Sarah Deaver, senior Chelsea Harris, and sophomore Kate Conville made up the 4x4 relay, placing second with a time of 4 minutes and 12 seconds. The 4x800 meter relay was run by senior Tori Pisco, junior Taylor Solano, senior Chelsea Harris, and senior Megan McGlinchey, who also placed second with a time of 9 minutes and 24 seconds. Freshman Sarah Deaver individually ran in the 500 meter race, placing third with a time of 1 minute and 22 seconds. Senior Shanice Johnson took fourth place in the 60 meter dash with a time of 8.24 seconds.
Lastly, the jumpers also had a successful day. Contributing to the success of the whole team, freshman Amber Jackson competed in the triple jump, taking first place with a length of 11.11 meters, and she also competed in the long jump, taking second place with a jump of 5.31 meters. And finally, freshman Maggie Guerin took second in the high jump.
LaSalle men's track and field had a great showing on Friday, January 24th at the Hoya Spikes Show Club Invitational hosted by Georgetown University. Senior Alfredo Santana recorded the top time in the 3,000 meter run, completing the event in 8 minutes and 19 seconds. Dimitri Gudis was the second explorer to finish, placing 5th in place with a time of 8 minutes and 28 seconds. In the 1-mile run, Nick Ross, Zach Sullivan, and Vince Barozzi ran together in a pack, finishing 4th, 5th, and 6th respectively, with only 1 second separating them.
The 4x800 meter relay team finished the event in 7 minutes and 58 seconds, earning them a second place finish. The 4x400 meter team finished third in their event, finishing with a time of 3 minutes and 28 seconds. Senior Kevin Day placed fourth in the 1,000 meter dash with a time of 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Kevin Grasso and Francis Mancho both placed fourth in the 500 and 60 meter dashes respectively. Freshman Avery Hunter Brooks registered the top LaSalle time in the 300 meter dash, recording a time of 37 seconds, which earned him 7th place. Mike Santamaramo put up a 12.17 meter toss in the shot put to close out the event. The Explorers will compete on Friday, January 31st and Saturday, February 1st at the Penn State Invitational and again on Sunday at the Sunday the 2nd at Columbia Lions Invitational.
Men's basketball took on VCU on Saturday, January 25th at home. Here's coverage of Saturday's game from SportsLine reporters Madison Elliott, Steve Graham, and Jacob Smolinski.
Following last year's overwhelming win against the 19th-ranked VCU Rams to propel the Explorers into the national spotlight, we knew that the Rams were going to be back for blood this season. The Saturday home game at the Gola was one of the tightest games of the year so far. The beginning of the game was a cutthroat back-and-forth battle with junior forward Jarrell Wright cutting inside for 6 of the 9 first points. However, the Explorers seized up and VCU went on an 11-point run until sophomores Rohan Brown and Khalid Lewis put up some serious points to get LSU back into the game. At this point, senior guard Tyrone Garland broke through VCU's defense and brought the Explorers within 4 points going into the half. The second half was characterized by over 5 lead switches led by Garland and juniors Jarrell Wright and Steve Zach. But as the time drained out, VCU's Travion Graham cut up the court to score 10 of their last 14 points. He tied up the game with a swift layup with 9.2 seconds remaining to send the game into overtime. The teams fell into a deadlock as a free throw battle commenced, and they moved into the second overtime, where the Explorers just couldn't keep up. In quite possibly the most heartbreaking loss of the season, VCU outscored LSU 17-9 in the closing minutes, pulling away with 2 clutch threes by senior guard Rob Brandenburg. LaSalle fell to VCU 97-89. LaSalle kept it tight all the way up until the end and saw Garland's career-high 30 points and Steve Zach's 11th double-double of the season. And even though it was a heartbreaking loss, we saw SportsLine's very own Rohan Brown step up with Khalid Lewis and convert points when we needed them, showing some serious depth against one of the toughest teams in the league. And that's all from the SportsLine reporters in the field, Jacob Smolinski and Steve Graham. Back to you.
On January 29th, the Explorers traveled down to Washington, D.C. to take on George Washington, the second-ranked team in the A-10. The Colonials have a record of 17-3 overall, while 5-1 in the conference, just one game behind St. Louis. Sadly, the LaSalle couldn't get the momentum going. The last time the Explorers were in the game was with 8 minutes to go in the first half, as Durham pushed inside and made the tying layup at 19. However, George Washington then went on a 19-point streak, tearing through the Explorers' defense and ultimately leading to a 69-47 score to end the game. Durham was the highlight of the game with 22 points and 5 steals. However, the team only shot 27% from the field, and no one but Durham had over 2 field goals. This was the 3rd straight loss for the Explorers, and they look to blow out Duquesne for the 2nd time this season at 4 p.m. on Saturday, February 1st at the Gola.
The women's basketball team also took on George Washington this week, and Explorer Alicia Cropper came out to play scoring career-high 32 points. The Explorers as a team shot 51% from the field. Freshman Makikia Owens added 18 points, shooting 6 for 12. Senior Lisa Burgess contributed 17 points for the Lady Explorers. LaSalle gained a tremendous lead coming out of the halftime, leading the Colonials by 11 with 17 minutes and 14 seconds left in the second half. The game itself depended on the battle of the boards. Against the leading rebounding team in the Atlantic 10, LaSalle out-rebounded George Washington 39-32. Freshman Jasmine Alston grabbed a career-high 13 rebounds, contributing to the Explorer win.
On January 29th, the Explorers took on Richmond at home. Take a look at how the Explorers did against the Spiders.
If there would be one word to describe Wednesday the 29th women's basketball game against the Richmond Spiders, it would be physical. This was one of the most brutal games of the season, fought right on the hardwood, and sadly, it didn't turn out in the favor of the Explorers. The Richmond Spiders came to the Gola ready to put pressure on our defense, and they did just that. As pretty even teams, the Spiders and the Explorers matched up physically, but LaSalle just couldn't get their shots together. The entire game was dominated by a failure to connect on the LSU side with a field goal percentage of 24.5%, which is not going to win you a basketball game. However, LaSalle did play strong defense. They had the rebound game advantage against this aggressive team and brought the game into its first and only tie 5 minutes into the second half. This is the last time the Explorers had themselves together, and the game honestly came down to them not being able to convert on the inside. Especially with Richmond going on 11-point streaks with no answer, it was a serious slump. The Explorers closed out the game with a frustrating loss of 56-39, bringing their overall record to an even 500 and 5-3 in the A10. But there was a definite sign of leadership coming from junior and freshman guards Alicia Cropper and Jasmine Alston, who both racked up 11 points each and played the full 40 minutes. This was an impressive feat, but the Explorers really need to bring up some depth on this young team if they're going to continue making waves in the A10. The team heads to St. Louis on Saturday, hoping to break this slump and take a win in the A10.
Men's swimming continued their hot streak by demolishing Loyola on Saturday, January 25th. Sophomore Johan Roth was able to place first in both the 100-yard and 200-yard breaststroke events. Freshman Mattias Glennis continued to wow everyone with his time in the 1,000-yard freestyle event. Glennis easily placed first with a time of 9 minutes 40 seconds. He was also able to win the 500-yard freestyle event with a time of 4 minutes 43 seconds. Many other Explorers had great races, leading LaSalle to first place finishes in 14 of 16 total events. The final score was 223-74.
Coming off 2 tough losses last week, the women's swim team was able to recover with a win against Loyola on Saturday, January 25th. However, the meet came down to the wire as the Lady Explorers won by a close score of 156-143. Junior Colleen Larkin led the charge by winning both the 1,000 and 500-yard freestyle events. Sophomore Kelsey Jenkinson followed suit with 2 first-place finishes of her own. She won both the 100 and 200-yard breaststroke events to help the Lady Explorers. Julia Mann also came up big, as she was able to place first in the 200-yard butterfly event.
Now, we're going to take a quick break, but when we get back, Steve Graham will be sitting down with one of LaSalle's rowers. We'll be right back.
action at actionteam.org. Are you in?
Welcome to another session of SportsLine. I'm Steve Graham, sitting here today with Angie Itas. Angie, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Angie here is the men's crew team coxswain, and she's come to tell us a little bit about her responsibilities and her experience with the team. Angie, how about you start by telling us a little bit about how you got into the sport?
I got into crew in high school around like my junior year, and I rowed for a club team in South Jersey.
Okay.
So me and my teammates came from basically all parts of South Jersey, so it was really cool.
Okay, so were you recruited by LaSalle?
Yeah, essentially I was recruited by LaSalle my senior year of high school.
So now you're the men's coxswain for the crew team. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for the team, your responsibilities?
Well, as a coxswain, I basically steer, command, and motivate the boat. And a lot of people say that the coxswain is kind of like the middleman between the coach and the athlete, because the coach has like a lot of bodies to watch. So as he critiques each one of them, I try to like memorize what each athlete like needs, and I basically just try to motivate them all like individually and as a whole together.
So do you have to develop an individual relationship with each of them to know like their strengths and weaknesses?
Yeah, I mean like team bonding is always the best way to do that. So it's always good to have like a good connection with each one of your teammates, especially not just like your teammates, but especially those who are in your boat that you're with every day.
So I see it out there, you have the microphone on, you're yelling at them.
The headset.
The headset, yes. Do you have communication with the coach, or is it basically the race is in your hands?
When we practice, the coach is riding beside us in like another boat, and he'll say something, and then I'll repeat it to the rest of the boat, because they're focusing on what they're doing physically. And then during the race day, it's just all me.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
It's rewarding.
Yeah, so now it's the winter time. I'm assuming there's no races because the Schuylkill might be a little frozen.
Just a little bit.
What are the guys doing right now?
We train indoors, so we have these things called ergs. They're just individual machines that each rower can go on. It tells you how hard you're pulling and just all this other like terminology. And that's basically what we do all winter. And we just erg all together, probably like 30 ergs in one room. And the coach will it's just like doing practice, just like do the same pieces on the water, just you're all individual, just not in a boat.
What are you doing during this training? Are you on an erg or?
I can be on an erg if I wanted to, but usually still there, just like standing beside them, still motivating them, making calls, just still doing everything I would do in a boat.
Now, in high school before you came here, were you strictly a coxswain and that's what you were recruited for, or did you try rowing a boat before?
I was strictly coxswain.
Okay.
Yeah, my sister actually rowed for like 2 weeks at LaSalle, and I was a sophomore in high school, and she came home and she was like, I did this thing called crew, and I was like, what's that? And she's like, you should try it. You should be the person in front that yells. And I was like, okay, so Googled coxswain online near South Jersey. Here I am.
It's cool, a little sibling motivation. So during the winter break, while all of us were at home, you guys took a trip to Miami, Florida. Tell me how that was.
Yeah, well, while you guys were in the snow, enjoying that, I was down in Miami. The weather could have been a little bit better. Most days were nice. It was actually kind of rainy some days, a little chillier than I expected, but it was finally nice to be on the water and out of the cold, because like that's where we get our prime training in the winter, being back on the water. So it's really good to have the team together, like, somewhere other than Philly, even though Philly is an awesome place, but it's cool to be together somewhere else, like in Miami, working together.
Was it racing or just training?
Just training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it's warmer weather. So is there expectations for this spring? I know there's always big rivalries throughout the city with Penn and Drexel, and I guess there was Temple, but
there
no
was
longer
Temple.
more. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What's your expectations for this year?
Yeah, I mean, spring is our prime time. That's what we train for all fall, all winter, is for the spring season. And of course, everyone wants to medal every race we get in the spring, like who doesn't? But the main race that we train for is the Dad Veil, because that's who everyone remembers. So with this new coaching staff, they're doing a really good job of like giving us a more competitive edge, giving us more like intense outlook. So we're working really hard to really get to the spring season, get that gold medal in Dad Veils.
Very cool. So right now, as time is starting to expire, we have a little tradition on SportsLine, and I got to ask you, what is your favorite Disney movie?
My favorite Disney movie is probably The Lion King.
The Lion King.
Can't ever go wrong.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I was always a big fan of Tarzan as well. I don't know, it's just the
That's a good one.
jungle
They're all
aspect,
good
but
ones.
yeah, and
All
Disney's
Disney
Disney.
movies.
Well, that's all we have time for today. We'll be back after a short break. I'm Steve Graham, and saying thank you to Angie for joining us, and we'll be back after the break.
The environment is my passion. Every day, I live for the outdoors and all of its challenges. That's why I enlisted in the Coast Guard. Now, I serve to protect the environment.
Now on to exploring headlines. Just last week, John McCarthy was in the headlines because he received recognition for his success this past fall season. This is why this week's news will surprise you. McCarthy graduated in December and is now in the MLS draft. Top Drawer Soccer rated him the third best goalkeeper available in the 2014 MLS draft. According to the Seattle Times article about the preseason training camp roster, McCarthy is listed at an unsigned status for the Sounders. We wish McCarthy the best of luck with his MLS career.
Following LaSalle's impressive beatdown of Loyola this past Saturday in swim and dive, freshman Mattias Glenesk was given Atlantic 10 Men's Swimming and Diving Rookie of the Week honors. He placed first place in the 1,000-yard freestyle, well ahead of the rest of the competing swimmers, and also placed first in the 500-yard freestyle. Congratulations to the freshman phenom, and we hope to hear more news concerning his stupendous performances.
Another explorer also received some positive attention. The women's basketball team's very own Alicia Cropper was given Atlantic 10 Co-Player of the Week honors after her stellar performance last Saturday against George Washington. She shares the award with Natasha Cloud from St. Joe's. Cropper put up 32 points while shooting 11 for 18 and playing all 40 minutes of the game. Let's hope Cropper and company can repeat such performances in the games ahead.
Senior runner Alfredo Santana was honored at the 110th annual Philadelphia Sports Writers Dinner. This is due to his distinguished performances over the past few years. He has received Performer of the Meet honors at the cross country, indoor track, and outdoor track championships throughout his career, and he's only the second athlete in Atlantic 10 history to do so. This past year alone, Santana earned the gold in the 3K and 5K runs for the indoor championships and won the 5K and 10K runs in the outdoor championships. Well, we're going to take another quick break, but when we get back, Eddie Dunn will tell you which game to watch during the upcoming week in the marquee matchup. But first, take a look at the special patch the men's basketball team will wear in the honor of Gola for the remainder of the season.
A diagnosis of breast cancer changes your life forever.
She told me I needed a mastectomy.
I was scared.
Absolutely in shock.
But you need to know that you're not alone. There are teams of medical professionals, support groups, and therapists, and those who can help you plan for life after cancer. Before you undergo surgery for breast cancer, get the facts. Make sure you know your breast reconstruction options. For more information, visit broaddayusa.org.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Marquee Matchup. I'm Eddie Dunn. On Saturday, February 1st, the men's and women's swimming and diving team will be taking on the aquatic athletes of the University of Pennsylvania in what is sure to be a very exciting matchup. The Penn Quakers will enter the meet having performed very well this season at home, which could spell bad news for the Explorers. However, the blue and gold will dive into the sheer pool, riding a women's win over Loyola on January 25th and a men's two-match winning streak with wins over Loyola on the 25th and a tri-meet victory over both Fordham and Richmond on January 19th. This momentum is exactly what LaSalle could use in order to help seize a win against the favored Quakers. Now, let's take a look at the key athletes in this weekend's showdown. On the men's side, look out for stud sophomore Johan Roth. Johan is fresh off of a stellar week that earned him GoExplorers.com Player of the Week honors in their matchup against Fordham. Roth took first place in the 100-yard breaststroke and 200-yard breaststroke, posting times of 59.14 seconds and 2 minutes and 9.31 seconds respectively. Roth also placed second in the 50-yard freestyle with a time of 22.2 seconds and swam the second leg of the 200-yard medley team relay, in which the team placed first. Look for the South African and former A10 gold medalist to show up big in an important regular season finale. For the women, make sure to keep your eyes peeled for Kelsey Jenkinson, a fellow sophomore of Roth, also hailing from South Africa. In early December, during the AT&T Winter National Championships, Jenkinson managed to break the school record here at LaSalle for the 100-yard breaststroke during the preliminary rounds, posting a time of 1 minute and 2.67 seconds. She managed to break her own record by 9/100ths of a second later that evening. Not stopping there, Jenkinson easily took first in the same event against Fordham, Richmond, and Loyola, while also taking first in the 200-yard breaststroke against Loyola, with a time of 2 minutes and 28.52 seconds. Needless to say, Jenkinson turns into a beast when she enters the water and will prove to be a threat to the Quakers. Now for our keys to the meet. An important thing here is that the Explorers stay focused on the task at hand. With this being the last meet of the season for both the men and the women, and the A10 championships quickly approaching, it may be very easy for LaSalle to overlook their opponents. Penn is a talented school that could swiftly deal with the Explorers if they are not focused and not prepared to win. If the blue and gold are able to remain focused and are determined to take down a Big Five rival, then there's only one thing left to do: swim fast. After all, the fastest person is going to be the winner. It's as simple as that. That concludes this weekend's edition of Mark A Matchup. I'm Eddie Dunn.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Nicole Malakowski, a U.S. Air Force Fighter Squadron Commander and the first woman pilot with the United States Air Force Aerial Demonstration Team. My fellow airmen and I know that each of us plays a huge part in our victories, whether in the air or on the ground. We couldn't accomplish our mission without using everyone's skills to reach our goals. Embracing our differences and working together is also what has made America strong. Thank you for your support, and remember, our strength lies in our diversity. This message brought to you by the United States Air Force.
Training is about more than muscle. It's about inner strength. So I push myself. That's why I serve in the United States Coast Guard. I train with the best, a team that shares my drive and commitment. We collect intelligence, guard our shores against drug smugglers, and keep our waterways safe, because our nation expects more.
If you expect more, maybe you were born ready. Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
Thanks, Eddie. All right, so what do you think is going on with men's basketball? We've dropped, what, 3 in a row now? I don't know what's going on with them. It seems like they're kind of losing all the momentum that they had. They had a 5-game winning streak over break, and now it's 3 straight losses. I don't understand what's going on with
I know, it's a little heartbreaking, actually. Well, you know, they were doing really great. They had a great run. And then the VCU game was very close. You know, it was nail-biting.
Double overtime.
We really thought they were going to win and take it. And then, you know, yeah, the double overtime killed it. And we were hoping it would break that losing streak, but, you know.
And they lost again to George Washington, and it wasn't a pretty loss either. They suffered some pretty awful loss there. Sorry, I'm losing the train of thought. Duran had a good game, though, so that's always nice to see. At least one player can try and carry the team. But, again, basketball is a group effort. You can't have that, especially in the NCAA.
It is. But you know what? Every team, and as an athlete myself, you know, you have your on days, you have your off days, and sometimes you just need to, you know, get in the right mindset. And maybe they're in a bad mindset from losing, you know, the VCU game, and put them in a bad mindset for the George Washington game.
Mm-hmm.
And so hopefully they can get back into the right mindset that they need to be, because we know they're a great team and we know what they're capable of. So Well,
I didn't know you were an athlete. What sport do you play?
I run cross country.
Oh,
actually,
really?
So.
That's awesome. Well, my off days when I used to play sports, on and off days, was on the bench. So, there's a little trivia for you as how good of sports I am. I'm physically awkward and I'm okay with it.
But you're good at reporting them, so
well, that's why I'm here, right?
Matters. Yeah, exactly.
Some more sad news, though, was the passing of Tom Gola, which
yes.
we'll have something for the viewers later in the episode. But he did a lot for the school.
He did.
It's really saddening news to hear about his passing.
He was a coach. He played in the NBA for 11 years. He was one of the best players LaSalle has ever seen. So we will talk more. We will have a package about him for you guys.
Okay, well, be sure to keep up with this weekend's sporting events by following us on Twitter at SportsLine LTV. We post game updates and sneak peeks into the upcoming show.
Also, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/LaSalleTV. We will welcome you to send us your thoughts and suggestions about the show on either website.
For Madison and our entire SportsLine team, I'm Brendan Rigney, and we'll leave you with this tribute to LaSalle legend Tom Gola, who passed away this past week.